Welcome to a Studia Academy Maths past paper walkthrough video. In today's video, we will be going through the step-by-step solutions for Edexcel Maths A, May 2024, Paper 1H. Question 1. We are provided the first four terms of an arithmetic sequence of 1, 4, 7, and 10. In Part A, we are asked to find the nth term of the sequence. To find this, we can use the nth term formula of an equals a1 plus n minus 1 times d. We first have to find the common difference of the sequence. Between 1 and 4, there is a difference of 3. Between 4 and 7, there is a difference of 3. Between 7 and 10, there is also a difference of 3. Therefore, the common difference is 3. So now we have the value of a, 1, and d. So we can plug that into the formula. So now we have the equation of an equals 1 plus n minus 1 times 3. Then we can expand the brackets and simplify the equation to get an equals 3n minus 2. And that is the answer to Part A. In Part B, we are given a new arithmetic sequence with the nth term of 5n plus 17. We are asked to find the 12th term of this sequence. So all we have to do is insert that number into the nth term equation to make 5 times 12 plus 17, which equals to 60 plus 17, which equals 77. Moving on to question 2. The question says that 450 students were asked how they traveled to school on Monday. Each student traveled by bus, car, or bicycle, and each student used one method of travel. We are given some information on the probability of each travel method in the table shown, and we have to figure out how many of the 450 students traveled by car. Remember, the total probability of the event happening, which is the student going to school, equals to 1. Hence, we can write the equation of 1 equals 0.2 plus 2, x plus 0.26. This equals 0.46 plus 3x. We can make x the subject by minusing 0.46 from the other side, which equals to 0.54. Then divide both sides by 3, which equals to 0.18. Therefore, x equals 0.18. Now that we have the value of x, we can put that into the probability of car, which was 2. X, which equals to 2 times 0.18, which is 0.36. However, this is only the probability, so we have to times 0.36 with the total number of students, which was 450, to get the final answer of 162 students who went to school by car. Moving to question 3, we are asked to find the highest common factor of 72 and 108. We can find this by figuring out the prime factors of each number by breaking them down. (72 into 8 times 9, 8 into 4 times 2, and 4 into 2 times 2. Then 9 is 3 times 3. Then 108 is going to be 54 times 2. 54 into 6 times 9. 6 into 3 times 2, and 9 into 3 times 3. Now that both numbers cannot be broken down anymore, we are left with their prime factors. We can now compare the prime factors of both of the numbers and find which ones overlap. We can see that each set of numbers has 2 2s and 2 3s. We can write that as 2 square times 3 square. After multiplying them, we will get the HCF, which is 36. Next is question 4. The question tells us that Ava drove 943 kilometers in April, which is 15% more than what she drove in the previous month, March. To solve this, we know April's 943 kilometers is 115% of March's distance. Let's call the March distance x, so we can write the equation 1.15x equals 943. To find x, divide 943 by 1.15. This gives us 820. Therefore, Ava drove 820 kilometers in March. On to question 5, we are given a regular pentagon and given the angle of AEF, which is 96 degrees, and we are asked to find the angle of FED. In order to do this, we need to use two angles. angle AEF and AED. Since we know the three angles make a full circle, we can write the equation FED equals 360 degrees minus angle AEF minus angle AED. Since angle AEF is already given, we only need to find AED. To find this, we can use the equation for finding interior angles of regular polygons, which is brackets n minus 2 brackets times 180 divided by n, where n is the number of sides. Here we have a pentagon, therefore n equals 5. We can put that into the equation to make brackets 5 minus 2, brackets times 180 divided by 5, which equals to 108 degrees. Now that we have both angle AED and angle AEF, we can plug both of those angles into our original equation to make FED equals 360 minus 96 minus 108, which gives us 156 degrees, which is the answer to this question. Now we'll look at question 6. In part A, we are simply asked to expand and simplify double brackets. All we have to do is multiply m with negative 8, then multiply 5 with m, then lastly, 5 with negative 8. Therefore, we have m squared minus 8m plus 5m minus 40. We can further simplify it to make m squared minus 3 minus 40. And that is the answer to part A. In part B, we are asked to solve 3n minus 4 equals 5n plus 6 over 3. We can first get rid of the fraction by timesing the left side by 3 to make 3 brackets, 3n minus 4 brackets equals 5, n plus 6. Then we can expand the left side to make 9n minus 12 equals 5n plus 6. Rearrange the equation in order to further simplify, making 9n minus 5 equals 6 plus 12. This equals 4n equals 18. We can then move the 4 to the right side to isolate n, making n equals 18 over 4, which is 9 over 2 or 4.5. And that is the answer to part B. Moving on to question 7. We are given 4 sets of numbers, a universal set of numbers of 23 to 34, set A, which are even numbers, set B, which is 23, 29, and 31, and set C, which is multiples of 3. Let's first write out the numbers of A and C. Set A would have all the even numbers present in the universal set, which is 24, 26, 28, 30, 32, and 34. Using the same idea, set C would have 24, 27, 30, and 33. After dissecting the information, let's look at part A. Part 1 asks to list all members of set B union C. This symbol with a U facing upwards means union. So they are asking for all elements in B and C, which is 23, 24, 27, 29, 30, 31, and 33. Remember to write the answers in ascending order. Part 2 asks to list members of set a complement intersection C. A letter with a dash on the top right means the complement of the set, which is what's not part of the set. So in this case, A complement means not a part of A. And the symbol with a U facing down is intersection, meaning all common elements of a complement and C. So the answer is 27 and 33. Now let's look at part B. It asks whether it is true that B intersection C equals to a null set. A circle with a dash through it means a null set, which means no elements in that set. To find this, we can simply check whether set B and C have any numbers in common. We can see that they do not have any in common, so the answer is yes. And the reason is because there are no common elements between set B and C. Lastly, part C says that set D has 4 members and is such that D intersection A union C is a null set. Let's first write out the numbers for A union C, which is 24, 26, 27, 28, 30, 32, 33, add 34. With the information given above, we know that there are no elements in the intersection between D and A union C, so the 4 numbers in set D would be all numbers in the universal set, excluding A union C, which is 23, 25, 29, and 31. Moving on to question 8, we are shown a cylinder and given the height of the cylinder, the volume of the cylinder, and the force exerted on the table by the cylinder. We are then asked to find the pressure on the table due to the cylinder. We can do this by utilizing the equation given. We already have the force, so we just need to find the area. Let's do this by using the equation for formula, pi r squared times height. We can plug in the information given to write the equation 1,575 equals pi r squared brackets 21. Isolate the area of base by dividing the left by 21. So now we have a 75 centimeters square equals pi r squared, which is our area. Now we plug this back in the original equation to make pressure equals 84 over 75, which equals to 1.12, which is the answer of question 8. Question 9. We are given a table with the amount of rice produced by 2 countries in 2020. Part A asks us to write 3.5 times 10 to the power of 7 as an ordinary number. Ordinary number means standard form. This means we have to write it in a form without powers. There are 2 pieces of information we need to look at: the number of the power and whether it is positive or negative. So 10 to the power of 7 means we have to move the decimal point 7 places, and we move it to the right because the power is positive. After we do this, we will get 35 million. In Part B, we are told that Japan produces 6,780,000 more tons of rice than Argentina, and we want to find how much rice Japan produced in 2020. We know Argentina produced 8.2 times 10 to the power of 5 tons of rice. Let's write that in standard form by moving the decimal point by 5 places, which makes 820,000. Japan produced 6,780,000 tons more. So we add that to Argentina's amount. 820,000 plus 6,780,000 equals 7,600,000 tons. The question asks for the answer in standard form. So let's count how many decimal places it is moved, which is 6. So the answer would be 7.6 times 10 to the power of 6 tons. Now let's look at question 10. Part A asks us to simplify 2p to the power of 0, where p is bigger than 0. The key thing here is the zero exponent rule. Any non-zero number or expression raised to the power of 0 is always equal to 1. So we instantly know that the answer is 1. In Part B, we are given an equation and asked to find n. Here we can use the laws of indices. When multiplying powers with the same base, we add the exponents. So here, both variables have a base as y, so we can add 9 and negative 3, which makes 6. So the answer is n equals 6. Lastly, Part C is a simplification question. All we need to do is expand and simplify. We have to multiply each variable by 3 since the 3 is outside the bracket. So 5 would be to the power of 1 times 3, and a would be to the power of 4 times 3, and c to the power of 2 times 3. Now simplify them further to get 5 to the power of 3, a to the power of 12, and c to the power of 6, which makes 125a to the power of 12c to the power of 6. And that is the answer. On to question 11, we have a roof support made from 4 pieces of wood, AB, AC, BC, and MC. The question is asking for total cost of wood if wood costs 21.5 euros per meter. Let's first annotate the diagram. First, we notice M is the midpoint of AB, so AM equals MB equals 6 meters, and we know AC and BC are equal, so both is 9 meters. So the only side missing is MC. We can find MC using Pythagoras' theorem, a square plus b square equals c square. For this question, we can write it as am square plus mc square equals ac square. Let's make MC square the subject, which makes MC square equals AC square minus AM square. Now let's plug in what we know to make MC square equals 9 square minus 6 square. which equals square root of MC equals square root of 81 minus 36, which makes 6.71 meters. But we have to round up to 7 since the question says, each length of wood he buys has to be a whole number of meters. Now add all lengths to find perimeter, which is 12 plus 9 plus 9 plus 7, which equals 37 meters total. Lastly, at 21.50 euros per meter, total cost can be calculated 37 times 21.50, which equals 795.50 euros, which is the answer to the question. Question 12 asks us to factorize an equation. To fully factorize the expression, we can use the method of splitting the middle term. First, multiply the coefficient of the squared term by the constant term, which gives 24. We then need to find factors of 24 that add or subtract to give the middle coefficient, which is -5. By using -8 and +3, their sum is -5. We replace the middle term with -8y plus 3y, making the equation 6y squared minus 8y plus 3y minus 4. This gives us a new form with 4 terms. Next, we group the terms into 2 pairs. From the first pair, we can factor out 2y, and for the second pair, we factor out +1, which leaves the same binomial. We can further simplify this, making brackets 3y minus 4 brackets and brackets 2y plus 1. This is the final product is the fully factorized form. Next, part B says, express 2x plus 1 over 4x plus 7 minus 5x over 3x as a single fraction in simplest form. Remember, whenever we adding or subtracting fractions with different denominators, we need to make the denominators equal. 4x is the denominator of the first fraction, and 3x is the denominator of the second fraction. So we can times that together to make 12x. Since we changed the denominator, we now have to change the numerator as well. Let's start with the left fraction. We multiplied 4x with 3 to get 12x, so we also have to multiply 2x plus 1 by 3. Likewise, for the right side, we multiply 3x with 4, so we also have to multiply 7 minus 5x with 4, where we get 3 bracket 2x plus 1 bracket over 12x plus 4 bracket 7 minus 5 over 12x. Now let's expand the brackets to get 6x plus 3 and 28 minus 20x over 12x. We can combine it as a single fraction because the denominators are exactly the same. Next, let's further simplify the terms. 6x minus 20x is -14x, and 3 plus 28 is 31. So we can write it as 31 minus 14x over 12x. And this is your fraction in its simplest form, because we cannot further simplify this. Moving to question 13. In part A, we are asked to complete a tree diagram. Harmon has 2 bags of beads. There are 3 white beads and 7 black beads in bag A, and 5 white beads and 4 black beads in bag B. And he takes out random a bead from bag A and bag B. So from the information above, we know that in bag A, 3 out of 10 would be white, and 7 out of 10 now will be black. Likewise for bag B, 5 out of 9 is white, and 4 out of 9 is black, and same goes for the bottom. And this is our complete probability diagram. Part B then asks us to work out the probability that he takes 2 beads of the same color. Two beads of the same color can either be white and white or black and black. We can find each outcome by moving along the branches and multiplying the probabilities. So for white and white, we multiply 3 over 10 with 5 over 9. Then for black and black, we multiply 7 over 10 with 4 over 9. But we want to know the probability of all outcomes, so we add them together. Now let's simplify this to get 1 over 2 times. 1 over 3 plus 7 over 5 times 2 over 9, which equals 1 over 6 plus 14 over 45. The common denominator is 90, so that's 15 over 90 plus 28 over 90, which is 43 over 90. That's your answer. Question 14 asks us to work out the savings of Chanda. We know the combined savings of Abel and Bahira are 15,435 dinars, and the savings of Bahira are 45% more than the savings of Abel, also that the savings of Bahira are 3 over 2 times the savings of Chanda. Bahira has 45% more than Abel, so that's going to be 145 over 100 times x, where we let Abel's savings be x. Bahira also has 3 over 2 times the savings of Chanda, so 3 over 2 times y's, where Chanda is y. Let's first find Abel's savings by writing the equation x plus 145 over 100x equals 15,435, which equals x plus 1.45x, which equals 2.45x. Then we're going to divide the right side by 2.45, and that's going to give us x equals 6,300. Now for Bahira, we can write 1.45 times 6,300, which is going to give us 9,135. For Chanda, we know that's 2/3 of Bahira, so that's 2/3 of 9,135, which equals to 6,090 dinars, which is the answer of this question. Question 15 says the function f is defined as f of x equals 3x plus 1 over x minus 2. In part A, we are asked to state the value of x that cannot be included in any domain of the function. The answer is x equals 2. Why? Because when you put x equals 2 in the function 3 times 2 plus 1, divided by 2 minus 2, that gives us 7 divided by 0. Anything divided by 0 is undefined. Whenever we are trying to find the value of the function where it doesn't exist, we can make the denominator equal to 0, which in this case was x minus 2, and for that x was equal to 2. Part B asks us to express the inverse of the function in the form f inverse x equals to something. Let's write down the equation above again. F of x equals 3x plus 1 over x minus 2. Remember, whenever you're trying to find the inverse of a function and you replace f of x with y, our goal is to make x the subject of the equation. So first, let's replace the f of x with y. Then we cross-multiply to take away the fraction, so y brackets x minus 2 brackets equals 3x plus 1. Then we expand the bracket to get xy minus 2y equals 3x plus 1. Now let's make x the subject by collecting the terms with x on one side. So let's write it as xy minus 3x equals 1 minus 2y. Then we factorize x to make x brackets, y minus 3 brackets equals 1 minus 2y. Now we move the brackets to the left to make x equals brackets 1 minus 2y brackets, divided by brackets y minus 3 brackets. Lastly, we replace the x with f inverse x and the y's in the equation with x to get f inverse x equals 1 minus 2 x over x minus 3, which is the answer. Next, question 16, which is another probability question. There are 20 sweets in a box where 15 of the sweets are red and 5 are yellow. Fred takes 3 sweets at random from the box. We are asked to work out the probability that Fred takes at least 1 sweet of each color from the box. There are 6 possible outcomes, 3 with 2 reds, red, red, yellow, red, or yellow, red, and 3 with 2 yellows, yellow, red, yellow, or red, yellow. And if we find the probability of 1, like red, yellow, we times it by 3, that would give us all of these probabilities. And likewise, if you find the probability of yellow, red, and times that by 3, that gives us all of these probabilities. So let's start with two reds, which would be 15 over 20 for the first red, then 14 over 19 for the second red, since it's without replacement, so there's one less sweet in the box. Then for yellow, 5 over 18 and times this by 3. Moving to the two yellows, which is 5 over 20 times, 4 over 19 times. 15 over 18, then again, times 3. Let's simplify all of this to get 35, 70 and x, plus 5/38. The least common multiple of the denominators is 76, so we can write this as 35 plus 5 times 2 over 76, which equals 45. Over 76 is your probability of Fred taking at least one sweet of each color from the box. On to question 17. We are asked to show that 1 plus root 5 over 3 minus root 5 can be written in the form of a plus root b, where a and b are integers. First, we're going to rationalize the denominator, and when rationalizing the denominator, we're going to multiply the fraction by the conjugate of the denominator. So the opposite sign, which is 3 plus root 5 over 3 plus root 5. Both the numerator and denominator get multiplied with 3 plus root 5. Let's first turn that into one fraction. To simplify the top, we can expand the brackets, so 3 plus root 5 plus 3 root 5 plus root 5 squared. For the bottom, we can see that it follows the rule of difference of perfect squares, where a plus b times a minus b equals a square minus b square. We can apply this rule to make 3 squared minus root 5 squared. Now we continue to simplify. Remember, you can only add the surds if the number inside the surd is the same. And square of a surd is the number itself, so the top will be 3 plus 4 root 5 plus 5. Now the bottom, which will 9 minus 5 again. This then equals to 8 plus 4, root 5 over 4, which equals to 2, plus root 5 is the answer. Question 18 says a curve C has equation y equals x cubed minus 40x plus 1. We are asked to find the coordinates of both the points on C at which the gradient is 8. We can do that with differentiation. When differentiating, we multiply the power with the coefficient, and you subtract 1 from the original power. And when derive a constant, it becomes 0. So here we can write dy over dx equals 3x squared minus 40. The question states the gradient is 8, so dy over dx would equal to 8. Therefore, we can write 8 equals 3x squared minus 40. Now to find the coordinates, we can first isolate x. We can move the 40 to the other side, so it's 8 plus 40 equals 3x squared, which makes 48. Then we do 48 divided by 3, which is equal to 16. Then lastly, we square root both sides to get rid of the square. So we get plus or minus 4. So we can write that for x coordinates. Now for the y coordinates, we can put our x value back into the original equation. So at x equals positive 4, y equals 4 cubed minus 40 times 4 plus 1, which is 64 minus 160 plus 1, which equals to negative 95. Now we do the same for negative 4. So, at x equals negative 4, y equals negative 4, cubed minus 40 times, negative 4 plus 1 minus 64 plus 160 plus 1, which gives us 97. So now we know the y coordinates. In question 19, we are asked to work out the value of x. We are given a quadrilateral ABCD. To find the value of x, we will need to BD, and to find BD, we first have to look at the triangle BCD, where we have one complete set of two angles and a length, which qualifies for the sine rule, which says A over sine A equals B over sine B equals C over sin C. So we can use this rule by writing 12.8 over sin 40 equals BD over sin 62. Let's isolate BD by moving sine 62 to make 12.8 times sin 62 over sin 40 equals to BD, which equals to 17.58 meters. Now that we have BD, we can go back to triangle ABD. With 3 lengths and a missing angle, we can apply the cosine rule, which says cosine A equals B square plus C square minus a square over 2BC. So using this rule, we can write cosine A equals 13.4 squared plus 15.2 squared minus 17.58 squared, divided by 2 times 13.4 times 15.2, which equals to 0.24927. Then we have to find cosine inverse of that, which is 75.6 degrees, and that is our answer. Moving on to question 20, which shows a sector OABC of a circle center O. Angle AOC is 60 degrees, and the area of the shaded segment ABC is 38 centimeters squared. We are asked to work out the perimeter of the shaded segment ABC. To find this, we will need the arc length of ABC and the length of AC. To find the length of AC, we know that OA equals to OC because it's the radius. So we can write 180 minus 60 divided by 2 equals angle, OAC, which also equals to 60 degrees as well. So that means it is an equilateral triangle because this is 60 and this is also 60. Now we can make use of the triangle and the equation for area of sector, which says area equals theta over 360 times pi r squared. This is because the shaded area of 38 is just the area of sector minus the area of the triangle. So we can write 38 equals 60 over 360 times pi r squared minus 1/2 times r squared times sin 60. Let's simplify this to make 38 equals to 1/6 PER squared minus 1/2 r squared times root 3 over 2, which makes PER squared over 6 minus root 3r squared over 4. So now to subtract the 2, we have to find the lowest common multiple of the denominators, which is 12. So let's write 2, pi r squared minus 3 root 3r squared. To get rid of the fraction, we can multiply 38 by 12, which is 456. So 456 equals to 2 PER squared minus 3 root 3r squared, which equals to 1.87 r squared. Now we can the left by 1.87 and square root to isolate r, which equals to 20.48 centimeters, and that's our square root. So now that we have the length of AC and OA, since they are equal. Finally, for the arc length, we can use the equation theta over 360 times 2 pi r. So we can write 60 over 360 times 2 pi times 20.48, which gives us 21.44 centimeters. Therefore, the perimeter of the shaded sector is 20.48 plus 21.44, which equals to 41.9 centimeters after being corrected to 1 decimal place. And that's the answer to question 20. On to question 21, which says a curve has the equation y equals f of x. There is one minimum point on this curve, and the coordinates of this minimum point are 5, -4. For part 1, we are asked to write down the coordinates of the minimum point on the curve with the equation y equals f of x plus 7. When a value is added inside the bracket of a function, the curve moves horizontally. In this case, plus 7 means we're moving 7 units to the left side. Since we are at x equals 5, so we subtract 5 by 7, which is -2. So the x value becomes -2, while the y value stays the same. For part 2, we want to find the coordinates for y equals f of x minus 6. When a value is added outside of the brackets, we move it vertically. In this case of -6, the curve will move 6 units down. That means we do -4 minus 6, which is -10. So we can write the y-coordinate of -10 while the x-coordinate stays the same. Now let's look at question 22. We are given an incomplete histogram that shows some information about the distance in kilometers that 100 adults ran last week. We are given some extra information and asked to complete the histogram. It says, All of the adults at least ran 5 kilometers, which means the histogram is going to begin from 5. And none of the adults ran more than 55, which is already shown. 14 adults ran between 15 and 20 kilometers. So over here in the first bar, there are 14. Using this value, we can find the frequency density value and then use that to create a scale for the y-axis and figure out the frequency density values for the other bars. Frequency density has the formula of frequency over class width. For 15 to 20 kilometers, the frequency is 14, and the class width is 5, so we can write 14 over 5, which gives us 2.8. Let's annotate the graph. So at this point, your frequency density is 2.8. Using this, we can now find the frequency density for the last 2 bars, which is 3.4 and 0.4. To find the frequency values for the 2 bars, we can multiply the frequency density by the distance in kilometers. So for the second last bar, we can do 3.4 times 15, which equals 51. And for the last bar, we can do 0.4 times 20, which equals 8. So for the frequency of the first bar, we can write 100 minus 51 minus 14 minus 8, which gives us 27. To find the frequency density of the first bar, we can write 27 divided by the class width, which is 10, which equals to 2.7. So first we mark 5 over here, and now we can draw a bar with the height of 2.7. And now we have completed the histogram. On to question 23. We are shown a solid shape made by removing a hemisphere from a cone, and we are asked to work out the total surface area of the solid hemisphere that has been removed from the cone. We are told the radius of the hemisphere is 2x centimeters, and the radius of the base of the cone is 5x centimeters, and the vertical height of the cone is 6x centimeters. And lastly, the volume of the solid shape is 6,948 pi centimeters cubed. Let's start by annotating. We know that this is 2x and this is 5x, so we can do 5 minus 2 to get 3x. And lastly, the vertical height of the cone is 6x. So to find the total surface area of the hemisphere, we first have to find x. To find this, we can use the equation for volume of cone, which is 1/3 PER squared times height. Since we know 6,948 pi is the volume of the cone, we can write 6,948 pi equals 1/3 pi r times 5x squared times 6x. Then we minus the volume of the hemisphere, which is 4/3 times 1/2 times pi times 2x cubed. We can simplify this to 6,948 pi equals 50 pi x cubed minus 16/3 pi x cubed. Since all the terms have a pi, we can get rid of it. Now we can write that as 6,948 equals to 50x cubed minus 16 over 3x cubed. 16 over 3 can be converted into a decimal, which is 5.3 recurring. 50 minus 5.3 recurring equals 44.666. So now it can be written as 6,948 equals 44.666 x cubed. Now we can isolate the x by dividing both sides by 44.666, which that leaves us with 155.55 equals x cubed. Then finally we cube, root it to find x equals 5.378. Now that we have the value of x, we can easily use that to find the total surface area of the solid hemisphere. The total surface area of the hemisphere is the curved surface area and the top circle, which is 2 pi r squared plus pi r squared, which equals to 3 pi r squared. Now we can insert our x to write 3 pi times 2 times 5.378 squared, which equals 1,089.36. We are asked to correct to the nearest integer, so the answer will be 1,090 centimeters square. Question 24 says a polygon has n sides, where n is greater than 5. The interior angles of the polygon form an arithmetic sequence where the smallest angle of the polygon is 84 degrees, and the common difference of the sequence is 4 degrees. We are asked to work out the sum of the interior angles of the polygon. So the formula for sum of arithmetic sequence is n over 2 times 2, a plus n minus 1, times d, where a is your first term, n is your number of terms, and d is the common difference. First, we need to figure out the value of n. So sum of n would be n over 2 times 84 plus n minus 1 times 4, which equals 84 n plus 2 n times n minus 1, which then equals to 84n plus 2n squared minus 2n equals 82n plus 2n squared. And this is our expression for the sum of first n terms. This is the formula that we created based on the fact that it's an arithmetic sequence. But the question states it's a polygon. So we can make use of the equation for sum of interior angles of a polygon, which is n minus 2 times 180, which is 180 and minus 360. Since both of these equations are representing the same thing, one just created using arithmetic formula for the sum of arithmetic sequence, and the other created using the sum of interior angles for a polygon. So we can make 82n plus 2n squared equal to 180 and minus 360. We can now make a quadratic equation of 2n squared plus 82 minus 180 n plus 360 equals 0. We can simplify to make 2n squared minus 98n plus 360 equals 0. All of these terms can be divided by 2, so we can write n squared minus 49n plus 180 equals 0. This is our simplified quadratic equation, so now we can factorize it to find the value of n. To factorize this quadratic equation, we can use the quadratic formula. So we can write n equals minus negative 49 plus minus square root of negative 49 squared minus 4 times 1 times 180 over 2 times 1, which equals to 49 plus minus 41 over 2. So one value of n is going to be 49 plus 41 divided by 2, which gives us 45. And the other is 49 minus 41 divided by 2, which equals 4. They said that n is greater than 5, which means the second is rejected. Finally, we can find the sum of interior angles by doing S45 equals 82 times 45 plus 2 times of 45 squared, which equals 7,740. And let's say we use the other formula, which is 45 minus 2 times 180, which would give us the same thing. Lastly, for question 25, we are given the function 17 minus 3x squared plus 12x right f of x in the form of a minus b times x minus c squared, where a b and c are constants. So the question is asking us to convert the function into the completed square form. Let's start by rewriting the equation to negative 3x squared plus 12x plus 17. So first, we begin by factorizing minus 3 from the entire equation. So that's 3 brackets open, x squared minus 4x minus 17 over 3 close bracket. Remember, we need to make sure that the coefficient of x squared is 1, so we need to get rid of the minus 3. So we take minus 3 from the entire equation. So now we have to complete the square. Normally, squares come as a minus b squared or a plus b squared. In this case, it is a minus b square. A minus b square expands to a squared minus 2, ab plus b squared. So if you notice, we have a squared, which is x squared, and we have 2ab, which is 4x. So what we need to find is the b squared value. So let's write 4x equals 2ab, which is 4 equals 2xb, because our a is x. 4x divided by 2x gives us the value of b, which is 2. Now we can rewrite this side as minus 3, bracket x squared minus 4x plus b squared. So plus 2 squared minus 2 squared minus 17 over 3. The reason why we have to minus 2 squared as well is because we're adding a new term in this equation. So if you're adding something new, you have to subtract it as well. Now we can simplify to make negative 3 bracket x minus 2 squared minus 4 minus 17 thirds, which equals negative 3 times x minus 2 squared plus 12 plus 17 equals negative 3 times x minus 2 squared plus 29. And this is your equation in complete square form. To follow the form shown in the question, we can write it as 29 minus 3 times x minus 2 square. And that is the answer to the last question. Thank you for watching. Education Made Easy with Studia.